Okay, I think I'll have you right here, Neil.
Hello.
Okay, so let me first apologize that we don't have more chairs in here. I knew this was going to be standing room only, but the man knows how to draw a crowd. What can we say?
I don't know about that. I think you're the one drawing the crowd.
This is so great. This has been one of the sessions I've been most looking forward to. Neil, thank you so much for coming to this. I know you get asked by a million people to come speak at all these different places, and we are seriously honored that you would come spend time with us today. It's fantastic.
And no problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I told him right before he came on, we're going to pull an audible and probably do a lot more Q&A, audience Q&A, than we normally would, just because A, the room is so packed, and I know so many of you probably have burning questions that you would love to ask, honestly, like the smartest guy in the room. So we're super excited about that. Why don't, for those people that may not know the full journey and the story behind, just give us an update on kind of what you're doing today, how you got started, the companies, some of the companies you've built, but specifically, I mean, you guys are gratefully a sponsor of this event as well. Tell us a little bit about MP Digital.
Sure. So we're an agency. We help with all aspects of digital marketing. And is my mic on or
It's up and down.
It's up and down. All right. So we're a performance marketing digital agency, and we help companies grow through Google, Facebook. Is it me or am I cutting it? I'm cutting it out. All right, forget this. Is this better? All right. So I'm the co-founder of an ad agency called NP Digital Performance Marketing.
Unbelievable. Can we get a handheld mic up here, actually? Let's just switch this off. And
Yeah, let's do a handout.
or I can give you my mic too, I guess. There we go.
There you go. Is this better?
Yeah.
So I'm the co-founder of an ad agency called NP Digital. We're a performance marketing agency. We help you guys grow through whether it's platforms like Google, Facebook, SEO, email marketing, conversion, paid ads, platforms, whether it's Walmart's, Target's, Amazon's, etc. Pretty much all forms of digital.
Love it.
And been doing it since I was 16. I'm 37 now. I feel like a dinosaur. You know, the moment you pick up your kid and you feel that back pain, that's how you know you're old. And then my wife tells me, I told you to propose to me for many years earlier and you didn't.
You can always count on wives to just bring that out. That's, you know, my wife was in the first session today, and I went up to her, and she's like, oh, good job. You know, you actually talk too much, so why don't you just try to tone that back? And you know, I'm like, okay, well, so we're going to listen to Neil today.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, they tell you how it is. It's perfect. So in the spirit of not talking, tell us a little bit more about just what do you think people get wrong about digital marketing? It's gotten so complex. It's gotten so overwhelming. Like, where do you feel like they start attacking it the wrong way? Probably in the context of there's so many brands here. What do you think they do wrong?
So the big thing that most brands that we see do wrong is they rely on their golden goose. So pick that channel. You probably have one or two channels that outperform the other channels, and they're very reliant on them. And people always ask me, hey, so does that mean we shouldn't be focusing on the channels? No. Focus on those channels, generate as much revenue as you can, but build up the other ones as well. You need to take an omni-channel approach. And what people don't realize is platforms have their own algorithms, and when you've been in the game long enough, you'll eventually get whacked. I'm not talking about doing something unethical and getting removed by a platform. I'm just talking about getting whacked in which something changed, and all of a sudden you're generating 30% less revenue from that channel. What do you do in that case? And the reason why this is so important is, think about people. The economy is in turmoil right now. You're seeing the stock market fluctuate so much up and down. The last thing you want to do is have to terminate people. It's like the shittiest feeling ever. I've done it before. I hate it. You know, I remember in my previous company, before I terminated people, I moved in with my mom and dad, right? Now when you're married and when you have kids, probably not going to fly anymore. But if you are less reliant on one channel and you have multiple channels that you're going after, you're going to have a much more stable business.
Yeah, I think that's super smart. And if you think about like going along that piece there of spreading out and kind of getting really good at multiple different channels, Are there areas like for you, I think you primarily is SEO. I feel like that's where you got like a big start. How do you think about expanding that core? Do you have like a framework that you use into content marketing or into social or into video or whatever? How do you start to think about, you know, what advice, I guess, would you have for folks that are trying to expand out? Is there a framework that you use and think through?
Not necessarily a framework, but SEO is everywhere. You do searches on Amazon. You do searches on Google. Sometimes you'll do searches on Instagram and Facebook, or when you're on a travel site like Expedia, literally you're searching all the time. My father-in-law has a rental unit that he puts on Airbnb. It's a version of SEO. You want to show up at the top so that way you can generate the most bookings, which generates you the most revenue. But the big thing that we see with SEO is it is the content that you end up creating, or is it the product or the service, depending on the channel. But how amazing is it? And the more you give, the better off you do on all channels. I'll give you a prime example of this. I'm assuming almost everyone in here is e-commerce.
A lot of them, yeah. I think everybody.
Most? So, for example, my buddy owns a company called Legion Athletics. It's a protein powder company. They do really well on Amazon. Do you want to know how they've gamed Amazon? Anyone want to take a guess? Amazon's one of their biggest channels. SEO, but not on Amazon. They created a lot of goodwill content on people searching for Google on how to do the correct bicep exercise or tricep. As you can tell looking at me, I haven't read those articles. And they've gotten really good at giving information from that, podcasting. They're starting to create YouTube videos. They're doing social content. But they're creating so much goodwill, people on Amazon are looking for their products. And when that happens, what happens to their Amazon rankings? It goes higher and higher. Because people aren't just typing in protein powder, they start typing in protein powder Legion, Legion Athletics supplements, etc. So it start helping them rank for all the other terms. And you're looking at Amazon as a multi-million dollar channel. It's a decent sized e-commerce company. I won't reveal the revenue, but they're really, really, really well into the 8 figures in revenue. And SEO on Google has helped them on Amazon. And the approach that they took wasn't, hey, I want to do SEO on Google. It's, I want to create amazing content that helps people out.
That's awesome. If you look at, I was not being hyperbolistic, if that's a word, on here as being kind of the undisputed king of online marketing. I feel like I'm in this space a lot. I talk to a lot of super smart people on marketplaces, on influencer marketing. I don't feel like there's truly like this, there are a lot of posers, but there's a lot of, there aren't actually anyone who's like truly kind of undisputed. And I really do see you as that kind of face of digital marketing. And why is that? Like, why do you feel like your platform that you've built over as many years has resonated so well with brands and customers?
So I'll answer the second part first, and then I'll answer the first part. I think the platform has resonated because we continually give. See, when I first got started in the world of online marketing, remember, back when I was 16 years old, there wasn't a lot online. And a lot of people helped me out. They didn't ask for anything. And once I started doing okay, it took me a long time, a lot of errors and mistakes. I started doing well. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give back. I'm going to do the same thing and just help other people out and create the content. Never expected it to drive revenue, just being super frank. Wasn't a genius marketing ploy or anything like that. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do all this. I'm going to build a big business. No, I was just giving away information because I enjoyed it. It was fun. It still is fun today. Economically, I make more money sitting at home than being here. I just enjoy it. It has nothing to do with revenue, getting customers, or anything like that. It's just fun, and then I get to gamble with you guys tonight. Feels like someone told me there's a gambling night. And then going back to the first part is the undisputed king of online marketing. I think I'm an archaic dinosaur. Not age-wise, but I've been in this industry for a long time. There's a lot of fresh talent that's smarter than me. At my ad agency, this is our 5th year, we have roughly 700 and something people that work for us. And with all those people, I built an ad agency hiring marketers who are better than me at specific tasks. Why? Not because I believed it'll get us the best customers or help us make more money. I did it because I just wanted to learn. And I was tired of working with agencies that weren't performing, so I was like, let me just build a team of amazing people who are better than me. I can learn from them, and yeah, we'll do client work at the same time and give them great results. Because Because when I first started out, I didn't start off as a marketer. I started off as a business owner hiring a marketing company. And after I lost all my money, I was just broke. So I had to learn it. But I don't think I'm a king. I don't think I'm the best at anything. I have a lot to learn. You can ask my wife. She doesn't think I'm the best at anything. She's seen me watch kids. Like, she'll tell me, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Make sure the kids don't get hurt. Like, she literally says that to me. And my buddy here was sitting in the front row. He was at my house. You know, our little 1-year-old's learning how to walk, and my wife holds him. I'm like, just let him go. And then he hits the ground. She's like, see, he would have just cracked his skull. I'm like, but he didn't. You know, but like I said, I don't think I'm the best at anything. What's helped me continue to become a better marketer, is a better way to put it, is always feel that you can learn more. Never feel that you know everything, or never think that you know everything. And open your eyes, because you can learn from anyone, right? For example, we have this kid who works for us. His name is Fabian. When I first met him, he would always use this term called bet with me. He'd be like, oh, we're going to, I'm like, yeah. He's like, we're going to lunch. I'm like, yeah, we're going to go to lunch. He's like, bet. I'm like, what are we betting on? He's like, you've never heard the term bet? I'm like, gambling? He's like, no, dude. He's just like, you're lame. You're old. I'm like, all right. And he's taught me a lot about social media marketing. Other people would have judged him and like, oh, he's rough around the edges, or the vocabulary that he used doesn't resonate. You know, and I'm not the best driver, so he picks me up in this Lexus IS, and he has like this, what's that thing on the back that makes a lot, exhaust? Yeah, so he supercharges it or something, and it's just making all this noise. I'm like, dude, we're in LA. You're going from red light to red light. Why are you making so much noise and only going like 100 steps with your car, right? Like, you're not even going like a 1/10 of a mile. He's like, it's legit, right? Bet. I don't even know what we're talking about here, but I'm like, sure, I'm in. He's like, in what? I'm like, I don't know. You said bet, I said I'm in. Let's just go with it. But the point I'm trying to make is, never judge him. He worked for a furniture store before working at my company, and people are like, oh, what does this kid know anything? He's not educated, doesn't have a college degree. Never judge someone. You can always learn from other people.
I love it, man. There's so many good lessons there, and I think it actually reminds me of the story that Pattern CEO told in the main stage around the fishing, right? It's like, how do you get curious? How do you stay humble? How do you go just ask people what's the latest? How are they catching fish? And not being afraid to kind of like dive into there. So maybe a little bit of a commercial break. Like, I'm sure I saw y'all at the bar last night. I think you had like a big crew. I don't know how much your company is here in Utah, but maybe anyone who works for NP Digital, maybe you raise your hand. Hopefully they came to see you. Yeah, okay. So I would just say point.
Wait, who's manning the booth?
Everybody's in here. Yeah, so to your point, I mean, if you have questions, if you want to see the latest, or you want to chat with someone else, you absolutely have the booth, but those are the folks, center of expertise over here, to go have some conversations, and then, you know, certainly if people might have some questions for you.
Yeah, I can answer anything, or my team's going to hate this. You don't have to see the booth. You don't have to hire us. You know, we're here to help.
Yeah.
If you want to, great. I'm not going to turn down money assuming we can help, but like, do what's best for you. Don't do what's best for me.
Yeah. All right, well, I want to be able to turn this over. We have some roaming microphones, I think. Maybe one got taken away. So, you know, we'll make sure we open this up. Be thinking of your burning question for Neil as we go through. Anecdotally, I now have a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old, a son and daughter, and I am very aware of these isms of bussin' and bet and all these cringe and all these things. The thing I found is that if you're a dad and you immediately start using the vocab, it makes it super uncool for them, and it ruins it. So that's one of my pride, is just use their words against them and they won't ever say bet again.
I'll make a note never to use their vocabulary, so that way they feel
just dig into it. They hate it. Okay, so maybe last question before we open it up to everyone else. You've been kind of called a data fanatic. We know there's so much data in digital marketing and marketplaces and SEO. How do you kind of compartmentalize that? Again, I don't know if there's a framework you use or some hack or whatever, but how do you think about, you know, what makes you a data fanatic? How do you look at the data? How do you use data for a competitive advantage in what you're doing?
Yeah, so when I first started out, when I was 16, eventually I worked for a power supply manufacturer as a consultant. I was getting like $5,000 a month, which was a lot of money, still is today. And I remember I did really well for them, drove 50% of their revenue, and the owner's son owned an ad agency and then started working for Countrywide, Blue Cross. Some of these companies have closed down since the last recession. And what was funny is eventually I got introduced to General Motors. And I remember back then managing $5 million in ad spend for General Motors and online, which was a lot of money back then. Still is today. But companies these days, some of them spend hundreds and hundreds of millions just in digital ads. And I remember I was like scratching my head. I'm like, you guys can spend $2 million and get the same amount of leads. You're just wasting another $3 million. And I thought, you know, I was decently talented for figuring that out, and the other people at this corporation for not figuring that out. And guess what happened to me? Anyone want to take a guess? I got fired. Because the guy's like, you're screwing up with my budget. If you don't spend it, I won't get it next quarter. I'm like, I'm not saying don't spend it, just go give it to someone else. Still got fired for that one. And then, you know, recession hit, General Motors, you know, had issues, and I believe the government bought some of it, and then they did IPO, and I'm like, you probably ran the whole business this way, right? And I'm not saying it's any one individual's fault, but I was very data-oriented. I was like, why would you throw away money? And I knew I could potentially get fired for bringing that up, but I believe that it would be unethical for me to make money while they were just literally flushing it down the drain. Literally, it was just being flushed down the drain. I'm like, you guys could donate it or do something better with it. And I remember at that point, I was like, I want to get really into data and help companies see what's generating a ROI and what's not. And that's why we all do performance marketing. When you guys do Amazon marketing, you can clearly see if your ads are working, or if you're overspending, you're underspending. The metrics are all there. And that's how I got into data. And then the other reason I got into data was really terrible at history, English, a lot of these subjects. In school, I did really well in math, chemistry, biology. Didn't really have to study for any of those tests. Kind of luck of the draw. I always tell my wife it was just genetics. Really good memory with numbers, able to do most math equations in my head. And I thought data just fit in with me, and I'm a token brown person. I know this is stereotype, but a lot of us are kind of good at math. Still can't spell for shit, though.
All right, so if you want to be a data fanatic, have good DNA. I think is the main takeaways.
It helps. My wife's like, look at her daughter. My daughter, 3 years old, already learning math, like subtraction, addition. And my wife's like, look at this education I'm giving. My daughter's struggling to read. My wife's already trying to teach her how to read at the age of 3. And, you know, I tell my math, I'm like, honey, it's just genetics. Everyone in my family's always been good at math. She's like, no, it has nothing to do with genetics. It has everything to do with how I'm teaching. I'm like, all right, go for it, honey.
All right, well, I'm sure there are a lot of different questions. You know, Cozy, I don't know where y'all at, but we got a question up here up front, and I wish maybe I need a mic here. Here comes Cozy. So just be patient as we come around here. And again, be thinking of your questions.
Great. So, you know, how much today on the internet does the good guy win? In other words, the best, most relevant landing page or product. Kind of what's the state of the internet for gaming versus the good guy?
So you're asking about good guy from a perspective of relevant landing page content. What about product and service? Would you also consider that as?
Yeah, for different kinds of landings.
So if you have amazing product and service and it's better than the competition, you probably won't win in the short run. It takes a long time to win, but in the long run you will. The issue that most quote unquote good guys face is they look for shortcuts because they're not getting the results in the short run, and they give up. It takes time for these algorithms to learn. It takes time for the good guys to build up a brand, to have that loyalty. I remember when I first started doing SEO for Airbnb. You know, when I first started, Airbnb had a good product. Do you know what most of their search traffic was coming from? Take a guess. Anyone want to take a guess on this? One keyword. Airbnb. That was their keyword. They couldn't rank for anything other than Airbnb. Eventually, we got them to rank for a lot of other keywords, but it was a great product. Hence, their number one keyword was Airbnb, and literally, it was pretty much the only keyword. All the rest wasn't even making up 10% of their traffic. Paid advertising was doing really well, but it took a long time for someone with a better product to eventually win. And I'm just saying, it takes patience. Don't expect it to happen overnight, no matter what platform you're going after.
Excellent. Who else? Here comes Cozy.
I'm back.
And to give you a timetable, if you're not willing to give it 5 years, you're probably going to lose.
Ouch.
Hi, Neil.
Hello.
I would love advice, or if you have any cautionary tales for when you are a company that's asked to scale. We're like double digits in the millions, and within a few years, like we're currently road mapping and looking at like 3 digits in the millions, and just, you know, advice with regard to digital marketing and scaling, I guess.
So you're in the 8 figures, you want to scale to 9. And you're saying you're getting pressure to scale, or you're trying to figure out how to scale?
We're trying to figure out how to scale.
Did you raise venture capital?
I think that's like the next step for us.
All right, so, and I'm assuming e-commerce?
Yes, in the home furnishings industry.
Home furnishing. So here's a hack that will do extremely well for home furnishing. Okay, so I'm assuming you're selling on Amazon.
No, direct to consumer.
Okay, direct to consumer, you're doing the paid ads. Try to start selling on Amazon. Have you done a lot of CRO?
No.
You start doing CRO, because if you start getting 10, 20% lifts, that'll give you the edge to start scaling up your paid ads more. All right, are you getting a lot of repeat purchases?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. The next thing I would start doing is, are you doing a ton of influencer marketing yet?
Yes.
Are you doing influencer marketing where when you do the influencer marketing, the influencer is on the landing page of the website and they're talking about the furniture, using the furniture, the home goods, or any of that?
We're a personality-based brand, so I think that they are on their own properties, not on ours.
What do you mean? Like you're paying an influencer who's popular on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yep.
How would you describe? Yeah. I mean, we have influencers talking about our brand, but on our own like web properties, it's our main personality that's talking about.
Yeah, but switch it up. Have the influencer who's talking about your brand on social media also talk about the brand on the website.
Gotcha.
And then the last thing I would do that you're probably not doing is I would start doing partnering with a celebrity. So like there's these agencies like CAA. I know some of them. I can connect you with them. Email Ty, T-Y, at npaccel.com, because I probably already get too many emails, so I just threw Ty under the bus. And if you want a connection, I know if you have decent revenue, I know someone at CAA who is looking to pair people like the Ryan Seacrest's of the world with people like you, where they can just push and they can be part of the company and just really help you scale, right? And be like the next version of like Martha Stewart, and that actually drives tons of revenue from all the data that I've seen. So I would start looking at those things, and then also start combining things like if you're D2C, you've probably done a ton of paid ads. Have you done a ton of SEO?
We're just like starting. So we haven't ever, we've started running paid ads in the last like 6 months and working on SEO, but before then we were fully organic.
Like just word of mouth?
Like Instagram, social.
So like SEO for D2C home goods, you can probably get to 9 figures just from that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't rely on SEO. I wouldn't rely on paid ads. I wouldn't rely on influencers. I would do literally a bit of everything, including even Amazon.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
That was like a free consulting gig. That was
Thank you.
amazing. Woo! It was like inside the mind of Neil Patel right there. It went for the jugular. By the way, there is a session, I think it's the last session today, of Gil Eyal from Stardust Ventures. He has a very strong background in that influencer space. He developed a company called Hyper that then sold, and he now, as a venture capitalist, builds brands with like Gal Gadot and other, massive Sophia, I can't remember her name, from Modern Family. So anyway, that could be a really interesting kind of, anyone has interested in influencer marketing could be pretty fascinating. Who else has a question for Neil? This is just so great.
Hi, so as a new and emerging D2C brand, it can feel very overwhelming when you get started in digital marketing.
Yeah.
I feel like my head is going to explode most days. So for new and emerging, like where should we start and where do we kind of begin the journey?
What are you selling?
So I have a pet brand. We have food, treats, and supplements, and we are subscription based.
Cool. So you're pretty much selling stuff that PetSmart sells, but a subscription base. Does that sound about right?
A little bit, yes.
But less products and a few things.
Yeah, so we're more customized in a customized bundle builder, and then the nutrition is all vertically aligned.
Yeah.
And then we're also very female forward, and we also have add-on items from other brands that they can add to their bundle every month.
And you're having people go through questionnaires or quizzes. Here's my dog type, size, weight.
Yep.
Here's our goals. We want them to be a vegetarian or healthy. I'm making this stuff up. I don't have a dog. So I don't know if people actually care if their dogs are vegetarian or not, but assuming that's the case. And have you started doing paid ads?
We haven't yet, and so that's...
So I would do a quiz, and I would do a quiz mainly with paid ads, start with Facebook, then loop in some Google, and I would just focus on those two channels. If you can't make it work, keep readjusting the quiz in the CRO on the front end. And then what I would end up doing is remarketing all the people that don't convert and try to push them through the quiz funnel and talk about what their experience was in a video that's emotional and how their dog is much healthier or happier, living longer, all the stuff that people care about with pets. And that's it. I actually wouldn't do too much more than that. You should be able to make it work. If not, the chances are it's something related to your quiz that wouldn't make it work. Maybe it's you're asking too many questions. I always try to limit it. Like you wouldn't want 10, 20 questions. That's a little bit too
some
much.
of the brands have like 35. We have like 7, so it's perfect.
And do you know any of the brands that are already working out? I'm assuming you do.
Yeah, nobody's quite cracked the code exactly. They are really driving heavy promotion because there's so much competition. So we're just trying to figure out, really how to get them in a different way.
Yeah, and that's what I would start with and just keep focusing on that. Once you do well with that one channel, then land and expand and go after multiple channels. But at the beginning, you only need 1 or 2 channels and call it a day. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but don't try to do everything when you're starting off. It's just overwhelming.
Yeah, love it. Thank you.
We had another question up here. Cozy, if you want to read it up.
Thanks for your time. So I just wanted to know what your position is on brands that are worried about driving traffic to Amazon versus their D2C site, whether it be paid media, organic, social, earned. I run into that a lot, and just curious your thoughts.
There's no right or wrong approach. It's funny, a lot of people who do D2C directly will tell me how much more profitable it is. And what they forget is, I'm like, but how much money are you spending on marketing? And then I talk to people on Amazon, and they're like, oh, our margins suck compared to D2C. But I'm like, but you don't have to spend on a lot of things that Amazon is spending for you, right? Because there's a lot of costs that Amazon cover that we just don't see. Now, the right approach isn't to drive paid ad traffic outside of Amazon's ecosystem to Amazon. You usually want to use Amazon's ecosystem to keep it within Amazon. You want to use external traffic to go onto your website, but it's not one or the other. You should do both. The best thing that I've seen to do with your Amazon listings is to start building links and try to increase the rankings organically, because Amazon ranks really well, to your own Amazon pages. That has done tremendously well. Little unorthodox, but it works.
Thank you.
Maybe just along those lines, Neil, I was talking to a brand the other day in kind of like the hardware space, and they had built a very expensive website. They were doing a lot of volume through it, but it's so expensive. They happen to be shipping a very expensive thing. And, I was talking to, I think, the president of the company, and he just said, it's getting really hard. I don't know if I have an extra dollar to spend. Do I invest more into D2C? Or increasing, it feels like Amazon is my brand's D2C. It's almost the front door through which all customers kind of get familiar with should I invest more into that? Just listening to you, it sounds like there's not one just, unfortunately, answer that just covers all things. But do you have any response to that? Like, is Amazon the new D2C for these brands? Or how should brands think about where to spend every incremental dollar they have?
Yeah, I don't really see Amazon as a new D2C. I see Amazon integrating with D2C EX Amazon buttons on your Shopify store and just purchasing through that, and you may see some conversion lifts, which, you know, they're rolling out. It's not about where you should spend your money. You have no choice but to do all channels. I'm telling you, I've been in the Amazon game for a long time. It doesn't always go up, even at pattern. I'm assuming you're seeing some businesses decline over the previous year, correct?
Oh, especially this year. Absolutely.
Exactly. You can't just rely on one channel. But on the flip side, you can't be D2C and not be on Amazon. You're leaving so much revenue off on the table. It's like people always ask me, is it better to do SEO or paid advertising? And I'm like, you do it all. As long as it's profitable, spend as much. And then some people will say, well, paid advertising makes me 2 times more than SEO, or the flip side. And I'm like, who cares? It's still profitable and you're making more money. It's like saying, do you want some money or do you want more money? Of course you want more money. Take it. Take it for whatever channels are going to give it to you from. If it doesn't scale to where you want, that's okay. Scale it as much as you can. Then go look for other opportunities.
Love it. Okay, we got a handful more questions up here, Cozy. Yeah, go ahead back here.
So around the buzzword Web 2.0, one of the interesting definitions that I've seen connected to that is the new intersection of content, commerce, context, and community. I was wondering if you had an opinion on that and where those things might intersect, if they will intersect, as opposed to them living in silos like they do now, and how that might change the game.
You're already starting to see them intersect, because you'll see content on Instagram that can affect how well you do on your own platform or on your own website. Maybe it's not one platform that has it all, and that is because a lot of people don't want their data everywhere, and a lot of companies don't want to rely on one specific platform like Facebook and then getting dinged. But I wouldn't worry too much about that kind of stuff. It's a good question, but here's why. Focus on what you can control. When things intersect or they're going to be in the right place, or like people ask me about cookies. What are you going to do when cookies are no longer valid? Let Google figure it out. They're the ones who own Google Analytics. Don't worry about it. You know, and I got that from a lawyer. I remember when I was a kid, I was sued before. And the first time I got sued, sadly it's been so many times I just stopped forgetting. I remember one time I got sued for telling a company about another company that they can work with, and I said, you should vet them. They didn't like that company, and they didn't get the results they wanted. And remember, I had nothing to do with that company, and I didn't even get a kickback or anything. They sued me for the money they paid the other company. And that's when I realized you really can get sued for anything in this world. I didn't have to pay up anything, but I'm like, cool, $800 an hour in legal fees to deal with this, right? But a lawyer once told me, his name is Bill Braunfield. He's a partner at one of the largest law firms called Fenwick & West, and he once told me, Neil, I'll tell you the same thing I tell my kids. Don't worry about stuff you can't control. It's the same thing with marketing. Whether things intersect or things go out of style or the economy goes down, you only can control what you can control and do the best you can with whatever you have.
Amen. Love it. Okay, got a handful more hands back here, and let's pass it down here. And apologies, I'm like giving Cozy an impossible task of trying to like navigate the crowd here. It's
Hi. You mentioned earlier about having like influencer content on your website.
Yep.
What do you think of like live selling in like 2 or 3 years, like programs like Ghost Retail or Smartser, you know, where they're syndicated?
Live selling already works on Facebook. Have you done it?
Sure, but I mean, do you think it'll be a big part of commerce in 2 or 3 years?
Huge part.
Okay.
I know people who are selling right now only on Facebook and live selling, and one of them sells hair extensions. And she, I kid you not, is making over $10,000 a week live selling on Facebook. She's like, this is legit. And I'm like, yeah, this is legit.
And do you think for luxury brands and premium brands it'll work as well?
Yes, it'll work for anything. I've seen it work for luxury. I've seen it work for non-luxury. It literally works for anything.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think if you look at the overall, you know, Dave was on stage today talking about how there's basically $850 billion of GMV going through the United States today. We're sitting in the US around a 22% penetration rate of all retail sales going through e-commerce. And in China, that number's over 50% now. And the denominator there obviously is way bigger, right? So they have like $3 trillion compared to our 850 some odd billion. And social selling, I think, is one of the major differences in Asia, and I'm with you 100%. Like it'll reach our shores faster than we expect. In fact, TikTok is doing over $1 billion of GMV in social selling today. So, and I don't think they do it in the U.S. yet, but it'll come.
All right, raise your hand here. Everyone here wears a shirt, right? That means everyone's hand should be up.
Trick question.
How many of you, if someone said you got to buy this shirt, it's affordable, the most comfortable, stain-proof when your kids spit on it, can't get holes when you put it in the washer, doesn't reduce colors when you put it in the washer, unless Neil's washing your clothes. Good trick for you. If you don't want to do laundry, blend in the pinks with the blacks and the white.
Never again.
Your spouse will never ask you to do laundry again. Did that many times before. But if your friend told you that this is the best shirt, you'll look good, you'll get that job, how many of you would buy that shirt, especially if it was really affordable? Pretty much everyone, right? That's the power of social selling. When someone follows you on social media, it's usually because they trust you. Just think about that for a minute. Someone is following you because they like something about you and trust you to some extent. People don't follow you. Like, if someone thinks you're a tool, and excuse my language, why would they follow you? They wouldn't. So if someone is following you because they like what you have to say, or the advice you're offering, or who you are and your personality, if you sell something, there's somewhat of trust there. That's the power of social selling. It is going to be massive. People just don't do it for one simple reason. You want to know why? They're too lazy because they don't want to keep going live all the time and sell through social. They're just like, it's just easier to run paid Google ads and drive to a landing page. Yeah, you do that too. You don't want to social sell? Go hire someone to just do it full time for you. Or go pay influencers to do it for you with their audiences. We started testing that out with some influencers because everyone uses influencers to promote their product on, let's say, Instagram or Facebook. But what we don't see people doing, we've tested this out and it works tremendously well, taking that influencer, having go live to their audience and start doing social selling. Converts like crazy. And here's an extreme example of this. Have you guys all heard of Ty Lopez? Here in my garage is this Lamborghini, but what's better than this Lamborghini is books. You guys have seen that guy? Did you guys also know that he bought Pier 1? Have you guys heard of Pier 1? He bought Dress Barn. Do you know how he raised all that money? Social selling. He went online and said, hey, I'm going to sell you on investing in these e-commerce brands. And that's how he raised all his money. Again, power of social selling. If it can work for raising money, it can work for selling anything. Whether it's a Chanel bag or whether it is, my 10-year-old shoes, wherever they're from.
All right, what other questions we got here? This is just absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for in coming up here and answering all these questions here. Yeah, go ahead, Lise.
Hi, Neil. So with the platforms, with the iOS changing and the increase of cost of retail media, do you think some social media platforms are becoming less efficient, or is it just the content that's being advertised?
They're becoming less efficient from an organic standpoint because they want you to spend money on ads. That's how they make their money. They're getting less efficient from an ad perspective because of the iOS changes, which is nothing we can really control. And you can't fix that. But what you can fix is the CRO on your page. All right, what are you selling?
We sell sustainable cleaning products.
How much of your marketing dollars are you spending on conversion rate optimization? And if I had a guess, I bet you it's either going to be 0 to less than 5%.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, so that's the issue. See, these platforms make changes or more competitors come up and they're like, oh, costs are just rising, my competitors are spending more, everyone's trying to figure out how to make it work. No, people are making it work. Facebook wouldn't be generating all those billions of dollars in revenue if it wasn't actually profitable for a lot of the businesses out there. But the mistake that people make, majority of the companies in this room, is they look at marketing as driving traffic. And they want people to buy, but they forget to optimize their content, their landing pages, their images, their copy, their testimonials, their reviews, and the list goes on to generate those conversions. And they'll do best practices like, oh, let me take a high quality photo, but they won't do things like A/B test the photo, or they won't A/B test the headline. And that's the mistake. You can't control Apple. You can't control Facebook, but you can control the messaging on your own landing page. And you can A/B test it. And if you got 50, 60% lifts, because it sounds like you haven't done much, which means you probably can get 50, 60% lifts. So if you got a 50% better ROI from your paid ads, what would that do to your business?
We could scale significantly.
That's right. Why? Because you'd be making 50% more revenue, plus your ads would be more efficient, so you can spend more money. You would win on both ends.
And reinvest.
And that's a mistake that most people in this room and most people genuinely speaking in marketing make a mistake, especially on e-commerce. They forget to test through conversion rate optimization. It's ugly, but you all have to do it.
Thank you.
Hard facts, hard truths, right here. Okay, go ahead. You got dude in red beard. Maybe stand up, and you're just gonna have to shout. I don't know if anyone can get
Over
to
it, shout. I'll repeat. Worst case. First touch and last touch. So look at first touch attribution. What's causing a lot of sales? Look at last touch. If they're both profitable, whatever channels are profitable in both, I usually like pushing hard on them. You can also look at the middle, but it's just easier to do first and last touch. Try to have unique identifiers and URLs for, let's say, like TV. Also, if you're using TV, you should be doing connected TV using tools like Tatari. Have you heard of Tatari? So Tatari will say, all right, so a lot of you guys here have TV. How many of you guys have internet plugged into your TV? All right, a lot of you, probably majority of you, based on what the hands I'm seeing. Did you know there's a lot of analytics tools like Tatari that'll tell you if someone saw your ad on TV and then from the same IP address went to your website and purchased? So you can actually do a lot of attribution and see what's converting and what's not. But check that out, and that's an easy way to do attribution with both offline and online. And think of it this way. A lot of offline is becoming online. So if you have a billboard, a lot of billboards are digital. Computers are sending signals to change the image on that billboard. And a lot of analytics companies who have those billboards are looking to see if anyone within close to that radius has visited your website as well. And the chances are they may have seen your billboard.
Love it. MNTN Mountain is another connected TV kind of organization that's kind of coming up and coming as well in that connected TV space of monetization and analytics. So
yeah, there's a ton of them.
Yeah, cool.
Choose your own poison. I have no affiliation with any of them, but whatever works best for you guys.
Same, yeah.
Hey,
Go ahead.
thanks, brother, for being here. A real quick question on Goodwill content. How many of these companies should be investing into it? Because I know there's not an ROI initially at the front. It's always on the back end. You produced a great podcast over time. Would you recommend a lot of brands getting into podcasting?
So first off, thank you for being here and everyone else as well. You guys took the time out of your busy schedules to come here. And yes, you should invest money in podcasting. It converts extremely well. The audience are very loyal. Podcasting has a higher, I'm probably using the wrong terminology here, hence I'm terrible at English, per capita, or the percentage of people that listen to podcasts that make over $70,000 is much more proportionally higher in the United States than the portion of people who read a blog. So check out this stat. How many blogs do you think there are in the world? Take a guess. Just throw out a number.
100 million.
Billion. That's roughly one blog for every 7.5 people. Guess how many podcasts there are right now?
Around 4 million.
2 million, the last number I checked. So it could be 4. Either way, let's say if it grew to 4, that's double. Look at the ratio for how many people there are that, or how many podcasts there are versus how many blogs are. And here's a crazy thing. People are like, oh, well, that just means people don't want to listen to podcasts. No, the last stat that I looked is over 50% of the US population are listening to podcasts. People are listening to podcasts, just not that many people are creating them. It's not that competitive. We got our podcast to 1 million downloads a month really quickly, and everyone's like, wow, how'd you do that? And I'm like, I could tell you I'm good at marketing, but that has nothing to do with it. There's just not a lot of podcasts on marketing, so people don't have options. Hopefully my content's good on my podcast, but the real reason is there's not a lot of competition.
I would be willing to bet that no one else in this room has 1 million people on their podcast, though. So you must be doing something right.
There's probably people with way more listeners than me, right? Like that podcast on a vampire show. I don't even know what vampire show is the latest one, but that one probably has 20 million.
Yeah, it's fair. Okay. Oh my gosh, we're probably out of time at this point. Thank you guys so much for coming in here today. You will probably get mauled straight after this, but yeah.
Thank you guys for your time.
Maybe the last thing that I'll say while Nicola's coming up, where can people find you? What are the best channels to kind of find you and learn more about your platform and everything you're doing?
npdigital.com. If you guys need help with marketing, we got a few people in the front row like Josh or Ty. I don't know all the people in my organization's name at this point. We have 700 plus people, but we're always here to help you out. And the most beautiful thing is if we can't help you out, we'll be honest and we'll tell you life is too short. Why screw someone else over?